As you heard, it is, in fact, the SHOPO Hour here on News Radio 830 KHVH. The regular time is Mondays. We had Labor Day off, but wanted to make sure that we spend time with the gentlemen in studio who are with us. Bobby Cavaco, president of SHOPO, Steve Keogh, vice president of SHOPO, and Mark Cricchio, just a handsome guy in a blue shirt with celebrating. Is that jet lag we're smelling on?
Yeah,
you?
I got in late last night.
Jeez, still made it in. Bobby, good morning.
Good morning there, Rick. Great to be here. Our most favorite day of the week on this beautiful day in Hawaii.
It is now because it's not Monday.
Absolutely, on a short week.
It's a short week. Brother Steve, aloha to you.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, boys. Always happy and grateful to be here with you and your listeners, Rick.
Thank you so very much. Brother Mark, as we do say hello to you.
Yeah, good morning, Rick, Bobby, Steve. Happy Thursday.
It's
All right.
absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. We did have Chief Joe on for an hour on his regular time. So we'll dovetail into some of the topicality we chatted with the chief about to get your perspective. But want to offer the opportunity to share, express, inform the recent meeting with union members and the SHOPO board. Whatever you'd like to update us with, any comments you'd like to share.
Yeah, Rick. So as it was shared in the the media, our state board, who makes the leadership decisions for our, basically it's a business, representing our members, our union, made a decision on increased compensation for our monthly allowance. Steve did a lot of research, presented it to the board, had a long discussion. The board then, unanimously decided to increase the compensation. We then took a couple of weeks, put together an email to the membership, letting them know what the decision was. And there was a portion of our membership that didn't agree with the decision. So we set up a meeting, we heard from them, we sat down, we listened to all of their concerns and their opinions. And we went back to the table and decided that we'll let the membership vote on it. And then whatever the members decide is what it is. And then we'll move forward. And whatever decision that the members decide, we're going to follow it, and we respect that. And as a board, whatever the decision is, we're not going to let that play any role on how we move this organization forward. We're going to continue to fight for our members and represent them in the best possible way that we can. And we're going to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Steve, any thoughts?
No, just, the state board made a decision and some of our members felt that maybe that decision wasn't the right move for the union. We took the state leadership team got together and realized that, hey, you know what? Let's put it out to a member vote. Let the members have a voice when it comes to the allowance. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And then we did have a town hall meeting. We felt it was important to hear from the members. Some of the members were requesting that, so we did it. There was spirited discussion. People were heard, and the members were able to have a voice for those that showed up. We recorded it, and then we broadcast it. We did send it out to the membership that couldn't be a part of it. So we feel that with member participation, it's going to make the union stronger, and we're going to move forward.
It's accessible by the public if anybody wants to. Would it be on the SHOPO website, or is this an internal membership board situation?
Given the topic, Rick, it's going to be internal.
Okay.
It's within our members, and we're going to keep it that way. Obviously, certain media outlets were shared with what's happened, and we were able to give some feedback and comment. But as far as that town hall, we're going to keep that. We're going to keep that within the SHOPO Ohana. We're going to keep it private.
Has there been responses from members who were not in attendance? Have they been able to share their thoughts? And what was the feedback in that arena?
Sure. I think that, people have passionate opinions on both sides, which is why we want to put it out to a vote. We got feedback that a lot of people were happy that it happened. And within our network, it's been viewed almost 2,200 times. So it's 2,200 views. So, yeah.
So what's the next step?
So we're currently working with eBallot, a mainland company that did the several of our past elections within the union, and then they're going to basically handle the voting process. and then report back to us what the result is. So basically, each member will receive a mailer in the mail with a specific code unique to them. And then just go to a URL address, type in their login and their password, and then the vote will pop up. They click whatever choice that they want, and then submit it, and that's it. So it'll be real quick, instantaneous. Yeah, so it'll be quick.
And is there a deadline for members to vote?
Yeah, so we'll probably give them a week and a half to 2 weeks to vote, and then share the results, with them when the deadline is.
And there we go. It is 8:15. Thank you very much. Indeed, we'll take telephone calls 521-8383 as we do regularly with the fellas in the SHOPO hour. Some of the topicality that's top of mind. There was a H&N report that featured, I talked to Chief Joe about this, that claimed that there were body cams misused that were turned off. That was against policy. There was one particular story in regard to the Maili story that we're aware of, and another where the feds are involved with investigation of overuse of action. And so anyway, those were cited in the story. But Chief and I got into process, procedure, what the requirements are in regard to body cams. However, I'd love to, as far as union leadership and also within the department, Mark, I'd love to get your take.
Okay, where do I start? Okay, let me tell you my perspective, and I'm talking as a taxpayer, not and nothing to do with the police. I was never in favor of body-worn cameras. Okay, first of all, the public, I don't know if they realize, cost is millions and millions of dollars, and I felt that our politicians, when just jumped on the bandwagon from the mainland for this, right? So, first of all, you got the startup, right, with this. Millions of dollars to buy these things. Then the training, right? Then the storage of it, right? And then you have a dedicated team just to download these things, right? So, you have dedicated team just in an office. A bunch of guys now doing this. Sworn officers that are in an office doing this, they should be on the road, right? But it's required because now you're going to have subpoenas come in because they want the video. You got to download for attorneys and this and that, right? So millions and millions of dollars. As a taxpayer, we don't need it in this state. We're not like other states that the department is corrupt and atrocious. To me, I felt we didn't need it. But politicians, they love to spend our money. So easy over here, especially over here, right? Number two. I want to have the police commission and a politician be put in a high-stress situation and tell them, oh, don't forget to put your body-worn camera on, right?
But you'll have to give them years of training and experience before that, though, right?
But
emulate.
These officers got enough to do, and now they got to worry about putting a camera on, So there has been talk, and I don't know how the technology is coming up that the cameras will be synced with something that they won't have to worry about pressing a button. But to me, I'm worried about their safety and worried about them getting hurt for them pressing a damn button so someone else can see what they're doing, And the other thing with this camera, prosecutors rely too much on this camera. But the camera only sees one square. The camera doesn't see what the officers see, right? They're looking up, to the side, behind them, right? The camera doesn't see that. It doesn't catch all that. So,
you shouldn't have even had them to begin with. There's no.
That's what I feel.
Oh, no, I'm just saying.
That's just my personal opinion.
But that's great to share it. But because listeners
Yeah.
are probably thinking in themselves. So there's no value. There's no value that rises to the level of the capital expenditure and the impact on the individual.
As a taxpayer, there's too much money going out for it. That's how I feel.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Now, they're going to bring up the fact that, but then we would never caught all these guys doing bad. You would have. It still would have come out in the light. It still would have come out. Because So with the Y-9 thing, there was other video besides the body cams that caught all that stuff. Same thing with the officer that in Manoa, right? That punched the guy, right? That would have come out. It would have come out. An investigation would have revealed that. So you didn't need a body cam for that. So to me,
but the reality is it's here.
It's here, and we got to deal with it.
If it's a law and if it's a regulatory issue,
yes,
there needs to be compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not compliance, then what happens?
So there needs, it's not a black and white issue. Oh, you don't put your body cam on, you're going to get suspended. You're going to take days for this because you got to look at all the factors what these officers are going through.
I think it's important, Rick, for you and the listeners to know that there are hundreds of patrol officers working right now just in the city and county of Honolulu on shift. They all have body-worn cameras. They're activating and turning off that camera multiple times per shift. It's important that we look at the totality of the percentage. It would be safe to say that we're talking not even less than a 1% issue with these cameras not getting activated. You take the officers that work urban Honolulu. The patrol, let's say there's 20 officers on a watch. Each of them are going to up to 7 or 8 interactions with people. So they're turning their cameras on tens of thousands of times, and you're highlighting a couple issues when the camera's not put on. Now let me give a disclaimer. If an officer violates the body-worn camera policy, then there needs to be accountability. Okay, let's get that out there. But as far as the number of times that officers statewide in the counties that are wearing body-worn cameras, it's a very small percentage of the camera not being activated based upon the totality of how many times they turn this thing on and off. Every time they have an encounter, they turn it on. When it's safe or there's certain requirements, they turn it off. You ask yourself, how many times does an officer interact with someone from the public? And the camera always goes on. If an officer does that 700 times a month, and then one time they forget to do it, would we say that officer is blatantly disregarding the policy? No, we could say, hey, you didn't do it this one time, but you did it right the other 699. Do we think there's an issue within the departments of officers not wanting to comply? No, I think the takeaway here is, respectfully, it's being blown out of proportion. I read the article that you're talking about. It got people's attention. Again, that is not something that's happening at all on a regular basis. And the community needs to know that the officers that are wearing the uniform are not trying to do anything sneaky. There's nothing malicious about them not doing that. It could just be human error. They press the button, it doesn't turn on. But 99% of the time, Rick, even more than that, this is not the issue that it was being made out to be.
Bobby, what representation when an officer is in these cases? The representation from SHOPO, how is that entailed?
So if an officer gets investigated for not turning on the body-worn cam, obviously an investigation is done. And then as far as their supervisor, or if it rises to the level of the administrative review board who decides on discipline, either a verbal counseling will be given or a written reprimand. Which then, if it's a written reprimand or higher, they could come to the union and file a grievance, and then we would represent them to argue the case on discipline. And I think as a union, we would just expect, hopefully, that the department would be progressive in discipline. So if this is the first time that they were found in violation, then they would start at the bottom with a verbal counseling, and then, of course, as you move along, if they had another occurrence, then would be a written reprimand. And 3 months later, or whenever they have another one, then maybe it might have to be a 1-day suspension. Or as long as the department is taking progressive discipline, I think we can agree with that. And then, of course, maybe give some follow-up training to the officer to make sure that the officer knows when and when not to turn it off.
Right.
That would be our concerns.
Gotcha.
Real quick, Rick.
Yeah.
So I was on the pursuit review board, and we disciplined a lot of officers for not turning the cameras on. So the discipline is there, right? But I think the argument in the news or wherever it's going is they want stricter discipline. But, put yourself in these officers' position, So we did discipline on the Pursuit Review Board. So they are being disciplined.
And there you have it. It is 8:24 in the morning. News Radio 830 KHVH, special edition of the SHOPO Hour. I've completely gone through the first break, and so why don't I just completely screw up the program and continue on without taking that break? I'll double up at the bottom because at 8:24 in the morning, I believe we have Alohilani on the air from the Big Island. And Alohilani, thank you for your patience. You're on the SHOPO Hour. Good morning.
Aloha Kako. This is Alohalani Hope Surnell on the Big Island. We have taken our officers in front of the police commissioners to say, you're supposed to have your body camera on. Why wasn't it on? And they were all chastised, but we're getting a new chief. Chief Paul is POW. Thank you for letting me make mention of that, sir.
I appreciate you taking the time to give us a call at 521-8383. If anybody else would like to join us, feel free, and we'll take your calls, 521-8383. To save my position, I might need your representation if I don't take this break.
You didn't turn your brake on. You're in violation.
I am in violation, and I'll be chastised by my peers in a moment. Let me take care of this. We'll get to the bottom of the hour. Your call's coming up. There we go. Wanted to make sure that we're all good to go, and it is 8:27 in the morning. And Bobby, some thoughts regarding our last call?
I wanted to go back to Mark's point about the body camera and whether or not it's feasible for us in Hawaii. When the department first rolled this out and introduced it, one of the advantages that they had presented was that it would lower internal affairs complaints and police commission complaints. So actually, maybe now that the body cam program has been in existence for about 3 or 4 years, it'd be a good time to maybe take a look at those statistics and to see whether or not complaints really did lessen.
I think for us, I would imagine it's all just, does it contribute to safety? Safety of officers, safety of victims, and can we catch these guys red-handed so there is no passing on prosecution, which we're all thirsting for an increase of really having a consequence. And at the center of that is the body cam. So if there's that overall benefit in all parties, the discussion can continue. As a matter of fact, we're going to go to Wayne, who is Mililani today on special edition of the SHOPO Hour. And Wayne, thank you very much for your call. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for everything you do to get the information out there, Rick.
Thank you.
I was calling because it seemed that for how often police and prosecution relies on camera footage, that they wouldn't be more willing to accept body cameras and make it a mandatory thing to keep them on every time an officer steps out, puts his uniform on, like the way he remembers to take his firearm here and there, or fill out his paperwork for when he does, or do his timesheet incorrectly for his overtime. I don't see why it's something that they can't just make sure they do. And as far as slap on the wrist goes, turning something on and off, it didn't seem that hard. And as somebody who has had to give footage for when my car was broken in, or otherwise the person would have gotten away with it. Like, cameras are valuable, and while there's a lot of things going on in a scene of a crime, when someone's held or something's wrong, we usually just have the HPD's point of view, and maybe whoever else was there, and that's it. But to have that one extra camera there, that one extra view, takes question out of it. And as far as the cost, I mean, every time there's a lawsuit against the police department, wouldn't this help them doing everything correctly?
I appreciate. Thank you very much, Wayne, for your call and comments. Gentlemen, could I please hold for a moment? We'll come back with a response for Wayne and other callers on the line, including Mitchell. Hold on patiently. Let me take care of this business that I must do. And when we return, we'll have the fellas and their response and more of your calls. Special edition of the SHOPO Hour. It is 8:30.
KHVH Traffic.
Welcome back. It is the SHOPO Hour special edition on this Aloha Thursday. 521-8383, the telephone number. Conversation continues. Wanted to turn it over to the gentleman in studio. We'll then go to Wayne in Mililani, but our last caller with his commentary about body-worn cams and any thoughts and responses.
Yeah, Wayne, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. With this subject, there's pros and cons, and you could go all day with it. But I was just talking on my personal experience as a taxpayer. I don't think it's worth the money. However, to the chief's point on his show, the last hour, there are a lot of officers that are exonerated because of the camera, because there's a lot of frivolous complaints. But I haven't really seen a body cam really settled multi-million-dollar suits, so I haven't seen that. But there's pros and cons. But I was just talking personally. I felt that it wasn't worth the money because you see it from the inside. Yeah. And then to Wayne's point, it's like they could just press a button. But what I'm trying to tell people is it's just not that easy for us being put in certain situations. Yeah, some calls, are easy, no problem. We could hit the button. But then you get other areas. That's the last thing we're worried about.
I'm thinking of the incident in Waikiki where a gunman was intervened, retained, etc.
Mm-hmm.
In the heat of that moment,
yes,
where you're trying to protect others and yourself in affecting your responsibility, you have this other process. If you second get, like, turn it on? Is it on? Is it off?
Well,
or what?
Not even second guessing. I don't want these guys to worry about putting a camera on when they should be pulling their gun. Yeah. That's my issue.
Steve, Bobby?
No, I think Wayne brought up a lot of good points. I think the camera is effective. Just for me personally, I think it's effective. To Mark's point, though, the cloud storage is millions of dollars. Depending on how much data is up there and depending on the case, HPD has to keep it for several years. And as far as expense, it is millions of dollars. But some people would argue that it's money well spent. As far as the cameras go, I think they're effective. I would just add as a patrol supervisor that the camera is one tool. It doesn't show the totality. And I think that was what Mark was alluding to, is that the camera is effective, but it cannot be gospel. There needs to be other things that are looked at. But again, Wayne made some good points, and I think he's mostly accurate. We wouldn't want to keep them rolling 24/7. Officers are entitled to some privacy during a shift, conversations with each other, conversations with their supervisor, bathroom breaks, lunchtime. So we wouldn't want to have a scenario where the camera goes on with the uniform and it runs the officer's entire shift. That's too much.
There we go. Thank you very much, Wayne, for the call. And Bobby, before we move on?
No, just that, no system is absolutely perfect. I think the department will continue to introduce measures to improve the program, along with some, whether it's making changes to the policies or even, as Mark alluded to, I know Axon does have other features where when the officer opens the car door, the car door, the camera turns on. They turn on their lights or the siren, the camera goes on. So that Bluetooth feature, I'm sure the department will probably be looking at to try and add that in to maybe lessen the occurrences where the camera wasn't turned on.
Like transition over, because this past week there was a press conference held in Waikiki. And once again, featuring Steve Vaughn, prosecutor, mayor's office, and HPD, of course, and business such as ABC stores and others prominent in Waikiki. Here we are, a lot of attention. What's the reality where we sit today, and what is being proposed, and how will it affect safety in Waikiki?
Well,
Mark?
I think we alluded to this a few shows ago, right? What do they call it? Weed and seed, safe and sound. All these politicians want these being. Just prosecute what's on the books, right? We went over this, but one thing I didn't see at that press conference was the judges. So you could say all you want, but if the judges are not on board, and the judges are going to keep kicking these people, or probation, or time served, or there's nothing going to be resolved. So they need to get these judges on board, and just start prosecuting. Simple. You know, to stop dumping cases and prosecute them. That's it. You know. So, and then I know Diane had called in on Chief's show, right? And you know they want more police officers out there, but you know, do you want? Let me see here. How am I going to put this? Police officers not alone could do it, right? So you need everybody to get on board, not only police. We can't be every place at all the time. So that's not the only answer.
So part of it is geographical expulsion, if you will, as part of this proposal. It's one thing to pass; it's another to enforce. And of course, it falls on your men and women to enforce laws and policies that are passed. How will this affect the process of stopping and questioning particular individuals? You now have another rung of the ladder, which is the enforcement of geographical exclusion. And how would you do that in the field to have the support to even verify or even know? Or do you have to have an obvious reason in order to even ask? Or if they are, then it has to be enforced. Our prosecutors and the bench, are they going to enforce at their level? I mean, it just sounds to me, this is my own personal. It's not dissimilar to a politician saying, because we appropriated the funds, this situation is resolved. No, it's not. It sounds like it, but it's not. So, gentlemen?
Man, there's a lot of different ways to look at this, right? You have the residents that live in the community that want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And then you have a multi-million-dollar tourist industry in this peninsula. I think, let's start with the tourism first, if we could. There are people coming to Waikiki that are not used to seeing someone sitting in their own feces, having a mental health crisis on the corner, and just being left there, okay? Whatever laws they have on like if you travel in the South, that's not okay. You don't go to the Carolinas and see any of this happening. I think, without sounding cynical, I was happy to see leadership get together, but obviously we want to see follow-up. And to Mark's point, the police can only do so much. Then it comes down to the prosecutor's office, and then it comes down to the judges. Now, weed and seed, there's enhanced charges. It's a separate charge. A lot of moving parts. If I don't want to be cynical here, I was happy to see it happen, Rick. But again, it's going to be the follow-up. And I was happy, as I'm also a resident of Waikiki, okay? We need to take back that community, okay? I'm sorry, but the taxpayers and the tourists that are coming here are not going to have less rights than the person that's in mental health crisis sitting in their own feces with a bottle of alcohol down the road. I think we need to be delicate to their issue. If they're in mental health crisis, they need to be treated. But you know what? The ACLU can have their own opinions on this. But people that are in positions to make that decision need to take that person, whether they like it or not, and get them out of that area, number one, okay? And number two, get them the treatment they need. So I was happy to see this going in the right direction. But again, it's going to be follow-up and implementation. And I hear Mark's frustration. If the prosecutor's office would prosecute and if the judges would do what they do and not be so lenient, maybe we wouldn't be here. But the bottom line is you can't have a group of 10 or 15 individuals, even more, that are in that have mental health challenges, that can't take care of themselves, that the optics is just, it's a disaster. And we have to remember that the residents of Waikiki don't deserve that.
But on the other side, there are those that will invoke, you cannot criminalize homelessness, because homelessness is the umbrella under which the various silos of afflicted individuals fall. And then that will stop some lawmakers to say that's absolutely, we cannot criminalize homelessness. Well, wait a minute. It goes a little bit deeper than this.
Yeah.
Can you address the specificities? So, Bobby, when we're looking at our legislative branches, city, county, and the state, are our current representatives, at least the majority, just sweeping this under because the path of least resistance is to define something as being addressed and resolved when in fact it's not?
Well, I think the legislators and at the state and the city level, I think really need to come together on issues like this and formulate some kind of plan, or whether it's amending laws to address the situation specifically. But obviously, this has been an issue that's plagued Honolulu for quite some time. Every election cycle, it's the same topic coming up: homelessness, mental health, affordable housing. It's the common topics that are being discussed during election cycles. So I think a lot of collaboration needs to be done on this, and really sit down and look at it and how to properly address it. What's the best? Get everybody's views on it, and then put together some kind of action plan, and then put it into motion.
And Rick, we can't appease everybody. We have to come together as a community with the different agencies and ask ourselves, what type of city do we want to live in? Okay. And again, everybody is not going to necessarily agree on an appropriate course of action. But at the end of the day, leadership needs to step up, make the decisions they feel their constituents want. And let's stick with something, let's run with it, and let's follow through with it. Because you know what? The taxpayers down there in Waikiki and those $1 million, they don't deserve that. And the tourists coming here, they don't deserve that. Mm-hmm. Because now, again, I was speaking to the people in mental health crisis. You have some violent crime, someone's getting their hand chopped off, someone's getting shot in the back of the head. I mean, these are other issues as well. Bottom line is, Waikiki is the tourist hub for the state. We have residents that live there that deserve to enjoy where they live. The tourists are spending big money to come here. They need to feel safe so they can keep coming. And hopefully this get-together that happened will spur some change, and there will be follow-up.
My final point, and we have to take a break, and I'll turn it back over to the boys, is this. When the legislative election process continues, and you're approached, folks, by a candidate who professes to, A, be attuned to what the reality of crime in our community is, but B, does not express advocacy first for the victims and the residents, that's a deal breaker. Because if it's a continuation of we need to ensure that they receive proper care and ensure their rights are not violated and all of that, you can invoke all of that, but what you're communicating is they're more important than you are, period. And that, your vote, is the capital that you expend that has value. We're going to be back with the fellas in just one moment. Queen Elizabeth has passed. Charles has become king of the UK. And we'll cover this at extensive coverage in the next hour. Stand by. It's 8:51. And the SHOPO Hour continues, a special edition on this Thursday morning. Many thanks to Bobby, Steve, and Mark. And we go to Paul, who's in Kailua today. Paul, I want to thank you very much for your patience, and welcome to the hour. Good morning. Once again, Paul in Kailua. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Just real quick, in San Diego, they're going reverse the rest of California on homelessness. The mayor there opened up and outlawed street camping and panhandling.
What city is this?
Homelessness,
San
left
Diego.
and right.
San Diego.
San Diego.
Okay, thanks.
Which is an independent incorporated municipality, so they could do that. So it's fixable. It just takes will.
Thank you very much, Paul, indeed. Thank you, indeed. Gentlemen, is there, in the process, just from your perspective, is there actually examinations where things are being done right that are adopted and proposed to bring it here? Because I see things that are being done wrong that are transported and adopted here. In any decision policy-making process, is it cited? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, we go with the enforcement side. We do our job,
Yeah.
and what's going on with the prosecutors and the judges, right? So I know at one point when we were doing enforcement in the parks, prosecutors was dumping anything, everything because they felt, oh, it's a crime against homelessness. No. If it's a law in the books, you prosecute it.
Yeah.
You know, you know, don't make up your own rules.
It's 8:50. Let me get this message in real quick. Important to join New Hope Oahu 27th anniversary celebration featuring Avalon Worship. They'll be kicking off anniversary weekend with a free worship concert on Friday, September 9th at 7 p.m. and joining them for their anniversary services on Saturday, September 10th at 5 p.m., Sunday, September 11th, 9 and 11 a.m. New Hope Oahu, Sand Island Access Road. For more information, go to enewhope.org. You can also call 808-842-4242. Gentlemen, we're in the waning moments of this hour. I want to turn it over to the fellas on the SHOPO Hour for some thoughts before we leave today. Gents?
Actually, we'd like to let the public know that a reserve police officer in Honolulu donated 3 tickets to the Las Vegas Raiders Houston Texans game in Las Vegas on October 23rd. There's a silent auction currently going on our Facebook pages, both our private member page and public page, and the highest bidder gets the tickets. And 100% of the amount paid for the tickets will go to the family of David Banquo on Kauai. So if the public is interested, they can go to our SHOPO Facebook public page and put in a bid.
I'm glad you reminded us because John Matthews handed this to me after the show yesterday to make sure that we made mention, so thank you for that. But it closes Friday, 5 p.m., and again, it's a chance to bid on these Raider tickets and make a Vegas trip out of going to the game. And yes, the link, exactly that.
It's 7 rows from the bottom. It's
What?
Really good tickets.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Those are good tickets.
Great seats.
Well, since I'm a Bears fan, I'll bid $12.
And then
Matt.
just a perspective on that. So I just came from Vegas, and I was talking to one of the Lyft drivers, and they were saying nosebleed in that stadium is like $400.
Yeah.
See,
You know?
no, that
So-
part is true.
Yeah.
But, hey, we're already at the end of our hour. Bobby, thank you so very much as always.
Thank you, Rick.
Brother Steve,
Brett, thank you for having us as always. We'll see you next week.
thanks so very much. And Brother Mark, welcome
Yeah,
back.
we'll see you on Monday.
Monday it is.
Quick turnaround.
Wow, it is. Goodness gracious. And Steve can finish his dance on Monday. Just work on it over the weekend. That'll be awesome. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining us.